Trance Vibes on a Saturday night, coming to you live from our studios in Johannesburg, South Africa. And let me tell you, it's been a while since myself and this man have been talking about it. He's an absolute legend in trance music. Started out in the days when vinyl was not vinyl, as simple as a lot of DJs would know it. There were no belt-driven, there were no direct drive turntables. It was all belt-driven. But I'll let him tell you a little bit more about it. Joining us all the way now from Dublin, over in Ireland, is a good friend of the radio station, Steve Tomás. Good evening, Steve. Welcome to Trance Vibes on a Saturday night.
Good evening. How are you? How's things?
I'm very well, thank you. I hope that you're feeling a little bit better because a couple of days ago you went and got your vax shot. Are you feeling a little bit better now at least?
Not feeling too bad. So hanging in there, just get it all sorted out and not feeling too bad.
Awesome. Now, Steve, as you heard me mention there, I mean, you started DJing when, belt-driven turntables were the thing. I mean, what got you into DJing to start with?
Well, I've always loved music. Just one time coming up to Christmas, I knew, obviously, okay, here we go, a chance to get a present here.
Yeah.
I decided to ask for a set of decks. So I did get a set of belt-drive decks. Obviously at the time I didn't know how to use them. So then I got shown how to use them, and the bug hit me. So yes, 1998 I think that was when I got my first set of decks.
But I mean, your DJing has taken you on a musical journey. I mean, from there, you moved on to direct drive decks through a friend of yours that had a radio show and so on. And then from there, you also started experimenting and doing radio shows, doing live mixes and that kind of stuff. And incidentally, that is where you met the love of your life, the woman that you're with so many years ago.
Absolutely, yeah. So 2002 was when I started doing radio shows myself. And then that's where I met who I'm still with now at the moment. Actually, she was called DJ Precious at the time on the radio. So, so I started doing my own radio shows in 2002 here in Dublin. And I done them right up to probably 2006, 7, 8, can't remember now, one of them.
Yeah.
So I was doing radio shows here for them. I was doing events for them here in Dublin. Doing massive under 18s here in Dublin as well for radio stations like Kiss FM. Which was really, really good, very popular at the time. Done many of under 18 sold out events in a place called the Ambassador. That's on top of O'Connell Street here in Dublin. And then I decided to just take a little break from it. And then back into it.
Well, I mean, you had to take a little bit of a break because obviously you get to a point in your life where you've been DJing. I mean, you started out when you were in your teens and you've gone on this musical journey. I mean, you've shared the stage with some of the biggest names in trance, and a lot of the big names in trance recognize you as a doyen and a legend in trance music. But you also, I do understand what you're saying because I also took a little bit of a break from the DJing a couple of years ago where you actually step back from it and you say, hey, listen, maybe it's time that I just have a look at my priorities and that kind of stuff. And obviously family is a priority, and you decided to take this little bit of a break with the birth of your child, and 10 years still dipping your toes in and out of the pond every now and again. And then what happened that got you back in? Because I mean, then you really started firing up again in 2018.
Yeah, well, basically, radio station I used to be on at the time when I was back in the early 2000s, invited me back on when they came back live to Dublin radio frequencies. In 2018, they invited me back on. I says, okay, yeah, sure, I'll give it a try and see how I got on. So I started doing a trance radio show. The bug hit me again. So I was enjoying that. Then the radio station started doing events here in Dublin, night events. So obviously then I was on the lineup doing club nights, which was really good. And then the atmosphere started getting to me and giving me that feeling again of like, actually, I really miss this. So and now I kind of want it. So I was doing that in 2018 up to 2019. Then unfortunately COVID hit, so clubs closed. Start live streaming. So I was live streaming constantly because of lockdown. So I just kept going live streaming. Got to know a lot of people in the circle of trance music. Start being invited to do guest mixing for live streams, live stream events. For Irish trance families, we have Save and Lie, all them guys.
Yeah.
So I got to know a lot of the guys. Then eventually I decided to start doing my own little events online with the project.
Yeah.
So I started setting up a couple of them myself, doing big events. So again, with me doing the events, then I start inviting other guys, like up and coming DJs, to start doing events and give them an opportunity, like I had an opportunity.
Yes, yes.
So give them a bit of a name, and thankfully it's worked. So I'd like to think that the guys that I gave a bit of a chance to are doing well now. So
I love that, because also from our side of the radio station, I mean, I know that you've also taken a listen to our local 14-year-old ICB. If it wasn't for radio stations like us, or the people that have a passion for the up-and-coming DJs, I don't know if they would get the kind of opportunities that you and I could have had when we were younger, but we had to work really, really hard, because it was also still very cutthroat back then, and also because it was a new genre. Trance was a new genre, moving from techno, or what we used to know as the old school techno, into trance, where it became more melodic and that kind of stuff, and then obviously split up into its different genres. I think if somebody like you and myself and a lot of the other legends had the breaks that some of the youngsters of today are getting, and especially with the digital technology, it would be a totally different ballgame. Now, speaking of which, what is it that actually draws you to trance as a genre? Because, I mean, there's so many genres out there that you could choose to DJ, but what is it about trance that actually captivates you?
Well, to be honest with you, trance music is the only music that I'm aware of, and that I believe is, that will bring you to tears and then bring you straight back up on the same track. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
The melodies, so it's just, there's so many beautiful trance music out there that, as I said, it just comes to the break of the tune, and you're just like, it'll bring you right down into tears or into sadness, and then straight back up with the melodies or with the uplift. It's just straight back up, and you're just happy again. So, I think that's the only music out there that will do that to you.
I honestly could not have put it better than what you have just done. Because, I mean, in the last couple of weeks, I've started falling in love with a lot of the orchestral trance, with those big breaks in the middle, the pianos, the strings and everything, where you can feel the emotion of the producer, and then all of a sudden it starts building, and eventually you're feeling sad in the middle of the song, and then eventually at the end of the song, you got a big smile, you got your hands waving, and you're absolutely just letting your spirit soar with the music.
Yeah, absolutely. That's trance music in a nutshell. Absolutely, 100%.
Now, question for you. Since the lockdown and so on, and I know that there's still some lockdown measures and so on in Ireland at the moment, what have you got lined up over the next couple of weeks? I know that you and your partner, Gareth Evans, are doing a together mix, a Together Through Trance, which is a project that you guys have started up together. But we will talk a little bit about that more in the future when we do an interview with the two of you. What have you got lined up over the next couple of weeks in terms of trance and live streams?
Yeah, well, okay. So coming up next Tuesday the 6th, I do a monthly guest mixing on Trans Energy Radio.
Yeah.
So I have that show coming up. Also next Saturday, the 10th of July, I have a live streaming event which I set up here in Dublin. So we're going to be live streaming from a Dublin nightclub called the Sound House.
Yeah.
That's going to be going through the project. So there's 6 DJs. I have 6 Irish DJs here from Dublin. We're all going to be doing an hour each, live streaming from there. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's probably going to be the closest I'd feel to being back DJing in a club since 2019, basically.
I miss it. You know what, Steve? I'm going to be honest with you. I miss playing music to a live audience, seeing the reaction, seeing the smiles, seeing the hands waving. And, I miss that. And I think a lot of DJs, once that starts happening, I think it's going to be a next level experience. And I also think that a lot of the current producers that we know, old school producers, as well as some of the new producers that are creating some cutting edge trance, I think a lot of these guys are also holding back on some stuff that they've been working on during the lockdown. And I'm telling you now, once the scene opens up, there is going to be an absolute explosion in terms of trance.
Yeah, well, that's true because I know from there's two trance DJs, big trance artists here like Brian Carney in Dublin and Paul Denton. I'm aware that they've been working hard on new music for the likes of what you're saying now. When the
Yeah.
clubs open back up, they're just going to burst these new tunes out.
Mm.
So I know that's going to happen 100%. But yeah, absolutely, you're 100% right in that.
I can't wait for this to happen. Now, if any of our listeners, locally, internationally, wherever they are tuned in around the globe on the World Wide Web with Vibez.live and Trance Vibes, if any of them want to go and show you some love or follow you on social media, how would they go about doing that, Steve?
Instagram, Steve Thomas Dublin. Sorry, Steve Thomas DJ. On Facebook, it's Steve Thomas with the Thomas TOMA for the S. So I have it spelled the Irish way.
Yes.
And I think that's all I'm at the moment. So as well as Mixcloud as well. I'm on Mixcloud, Steve Thomas as well.
Okay.
I've a number of mixes up there, guest mixes up there, radio show mixes up there. But yeah, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and also follow me on Mixcloud as well.
Perfect.
I am on SoundCloud, but I use Mixcloud more than SoundCloud.
Perfect. So what we'll do is, as we kickstart your set this evening, Valerie is going to go and upload all your social media links on our social media pages. And of course, people will be able to follow you there. Steve,
Brilliant.
Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for joining our trance family down here in South Africa on Vibez.live and Trance Vibes. And we will catch up with you again in a couple of weeks' time when we have you and Gareth Evans together with Together Through Trance.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, and thanks for the invite onto it. Really appreciate it.